Well, what were you doing 25 years ago, and where were you? If you were old enough, you were probably moonwalking to the beat of Michael Jackson's classic Thriller album. The groundbreaking record shot him into the stratosphere, but it was both a blessing and a curse. NBC's Savannah Guthrie takes a look back.
25 years ago, Michael Jackson's record Thriller broke every kind of record. Most copies sold, most Grammys won, most Billboard 100 songs.
Thriller was an unstoppable album, and it created a different kind of superstar album, not just in that its sales were monstrous, but in that song after song became huge hits.
And Jackson became a huge star.
In many ways, Thriller was the best thing that ever happened to Michael Jackson, and it could be argued maybe the worst thing that ever happened to Michael. All of the attention of the world was on this 25-year-old kid who was a really shy, introverted person.
Jackson's biographer says the singer became more withdrawn and eccentric. He seemed to prefer the company of children, and he drew headlines for his marriages, first to Lisa Marie Presley, later to Debbie Rowe, who gave birth to 2 of his children. Then cameras captured him dangling his youngest child over a hotel balcony. And over the years, Jackson had to fight off allegations that he molested children. A 13-year-old boy accused him in 1993. The case was settled out of court. 10 years later, he was accused again, this time in criminal court, of molesting a teenage boy. He was acquitted of all charges, but he left the country after the trial, seeming to desert his Neverland home. And a comeback record has eluded him.
Michael made great records after Thriller, but he never topped it, and he always tried.
If I told you you were beautiful. Still, a generation of new musicians pay him the highest compliment by imitating him, and he's said to be working on new material in the studio. Michael Jackson may thrill again. For today, Savannah Guthrie, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Harriet Cole is the creative director for Ebony Magazine and spent a day and a half with Michael Jackson for their cover story. Harriet, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let me start. I set the record straight. I said he was 50. He's not 50.
49.
49. Okay.
Yes,
It won't be 50 till next August.
Till August, and you know, we hold on to our youth.
Yes,
so
we do. Yes,
approaching
we do.
50.
But even that is pretty mind-boggling when you think that it's 25 years since Thriller. He sort of dropped off the face of the earth a couple years ago. He was found not guilty of molesting a teenage boy. Disappeared. Why did he decide to do an interview now? What brought him back?
Well, 25 years after Thriller. I mean, the biggest album of all time for many years. It sold over 104 million records, 7 #1 hits. He wanted to celebrate, and I believe that he wanted, this is the first interview that he's done in 10 years, the first magazine cover he sat for in America in 10 years, and he sat with us because he has a very long relationship with Ebony.
And he trusts you.
Yeah, from 6 years old, he was having a relationship with Ebony. There were 5 Jackson 5 covers, 7 Michael Jackson solo covers, so he certainly has had a long relationship, and there is a level of trust.
The reporter who talked to Michael describes him as, I'm quoting now, confident, controlled, a mature man who has a lot of creativity left inside him.
Yeah.
A far cry from the Michael Jackson we have seen in recent years, jumping on top of the car outside the courthouse, dangling the baby over the balcony, telling one reporter that he likes sleepovers with little boys. How has he changed? Who is this man now?
Well, from the time that I spent with him, what I got was that he's a man. He's 49, and he's a grown-up. If you learn from your challenges, then you become stronger. He certainly seemed like that. His voice is a bit lower. He came across really kind of normal, and I think that because people don't know Michael Jackson, there is that thought, he's this megastar. Who is he? I want to touch him. He's so different from everybody. But honestly, Meredith, he was normal.
What? No, he was normal. He's normal now, but he certainly didn't.
I'm talking about a few days ago when we were with him. He was with his son, the youngest son, who he finally calls Blanket. Yes, they call him Blanket. He's 5 years old. He was not covered.
They call him Blanket?
They call him Blanket. Okay. That's his nickname. But he was hanging out with him in the fitting and later during the interview, and he was a regular 5-year-old boy. But the interesting thing to me was that Michael was parenting him, very quietly. You know, there wasn't, you know what can happen with toddlers, don't do that, don't do that. With very few words, he was able to communicate to his son what was appropriate to do and what not. I'm the mom of an almost 4-year-old. I know that's not always easy, but I observed Michael being a great parent, too.
Does he regret any of the choices that he made in the past?
Well, we didn't have that conversation, but, you know, I can imagine that when you're on the world stage and you're ridiculed, that it's got to be really difficult. You know, Michael described himself as a shy person, and we've seen that over the years. But the interesting thing was when that wall fell away, for us, we just had fun. And the thing that was most impressive to me about him is that he was so loving and generous to everyone. We photographed in the Brooklyn Museum, and it was the guard who he made sure he spoke to, the elevator operator. Everybody who was there was someone who he wanted to treat with kindness.
And very quickly, people are wondering, a new album possibly coming out soon?
Well, you know, he didn't confirm it, but he has worked with will.i.am of the Black Eyed Peas, with Kanye West, and with Akon, and he says that he's writing and he's in the studio every day. So we're waiting too.
So, but your gut feeling is
yes. The gut feeling is yes. I don't have it written on a piece of paper, but I think so.
Well, when you get it written, come back.
Okay.
Thank you, Harriet Cole, very much for your insight. And the new issue of Ebony Magazine hits newsstands on Monday.